Hi, Amy. Welcome to the Rise of P podcast.
Hey, Nada, nice to see you.
You
And thank
too.
you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's an honor. I'm looking forward to our conversation because I know when I was on your podcast, we had an amazing conversation. So I know we're going to have another one today. So for our audience, I always like to start the episode off by letting our audience get to know our guests. So I actually want you to take us all the way back to high school. Who was Amy in high school and how did she become who she is today?
I was kind of a lone wolf. I was an artist. I was actually a computer artist in high school. We had a really pioneering computer art program. So I did get into computers quite early. Back in like about 1994, we had a pioneer program with Apple. So there I was in the computer lab working with computers all the way back then. So it's not, not outside the scope that I'd end up in the IT industry. I was also quite a strong writer all through high school, AP English kid, and loved history, and I'm very academic. I've always really liked school. I love learning stuff, and I think I still really love to learn stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. And then so from there, what happened?
And from there, I was ready to go to Chapman University to do my undergrad. And I went to pay the bill and I said, no way, Jose. I had already taken some community college courses while I was in high school. And my father was a community college professor for many years. And I decided to go to community college and I ended up there. I had already had a bunch of credits. So I ended up about 18 months there. And then I transferred to UCI and was able to accomplish my associates, my BA in art history very quickly and very cheaply. And at that point, I thought I was going to go to law school. So I studied for my LSAT and I did well. I got into Chapman Law and I showed up for orientation and I looked across the street and the film school was right across the street. And I called my mom and I said, I know you really want me to get an advanced degree, but what if I got an MFA in film and television production instead of going to law school? And she goes, okay, I don't care. As long as you get some kind of graduate level degree, I don't care what it's in. So I walked into the film school and I said, okay, they've accepted me to the law school, but I'd rather come here. Can I do this? And they said, well, we've never done this before, but sure. So, so I went to film school. And while I was in film school, I actually started reading like Rich Dad, Poor Dad and buying real estate with no money down. And I got into real estate investing while I was in film school and ended up buying my first property while I was still in school. And while I was in school, I remodeled it. And by the time I finished school, I bought it for $198,000 and I sold it for $398,000
in California, right?
Yeah. And that was
Today
in Orange,
it's probably
California.
1.5 million. Today it's like 5.52 million.
Exactly. But I was so stoked and just so hooked. It was a 1920s property. And I really, with my degree in art history, I've always had a big thing for history, and saving historical buildings, I felt like was something that I could do just by coming in and making them pretty again, bringing back their historical appeal so that they wouldn't get knocked down and replaced by modern homes. Because, California will lose its history if we don't save some of the historical buildings that are here. So I went on a terror through Southern California and ended up going after all of the 1920s properties I could get my hands on and flipping them. Wow. And I made a good living at it. In the meantime, I started a couple of film companies and then I moved on. I got married. I had my first kid and then I formulated Mamalicious, which was my prenatal protein powder. While I was pregnant with Julian, I started working on the formulation. And by the time I was pregnant with Gabriel, my company was funded. I got my first $100,000 for Bliss Nutritional Sciences the month that I gave birth to Gabriel. So wow. I was like, okay, cool, but yeah, here I am with a newborn in my arms, in heels doing, conventions, so that was, it had its challenges. But that being in that business, having kids was a plus. So it was, I just really strapped that baby on. I'd use a baby wrap and I just strapped that baby on and he would just go with me everywhere I needed to go.
With a company like Mamalicious, it works for the brand, right?
Very much. And I was pregnant. I think I was pregnant. I got pregnant again like 2 years later. So I was doing more trade shows, pregnant, and it worked for the brand. So it was really, that was a really fun time in my life, being kind of accentuating motherhood and really celebrating motherhood. And that brand was really about that. And it was really about me like embracing all of the things a woman could be. It was sort of the precursor to the whole ManageHer thing. Definitely.
There's a couple of things that I want to break down here. The first is entrepreneurship, and then the second is being, fully in your career without compromising your family. So let's get to the second part here in a second. So everything that I've heard you say so far is this entrepreneurial spirit, right? You were going to go to law school, then you pivoted, then you started flipping homes, and then you built your first company. Like, where did that creativity, innovation, and thirst for really just building your own thing and being an entrepreneur come from versus staying on track with corporate, for example, or working for a law firm?
Yeah, my mom is a serial entrepreneur, and it just was modeled to me that, I don't think I was ever cut out to work for a large corporation, to work for a large law firm. I just don't think that I'm cut from that cloth. I think that I was very much cut from the cloth of like, I need to follow my passion and what my heart is in. And as long as I'm in my purpose, I just feel like I'm really good at whatever I'm doing. I seem to be very successful as long as I follow my heart and follow that deep purpose, whatever it is at that moment, whether it's saving historical homes or helping filmmakers make the films that are in their hearts, or, helping to save babies using nutrition with Mamalicious, helping make babies healthier and mommies healthier. I've just kind of been in the pursuit of my purpose for my whole career.
Yeah, I think that is an incredible point. I was reflecting on my entrepreneurial journey when I was hearing you talk, and you're spot on. When there's like this obsession, it's an obsession, really. When there's an obsession inside of you, you're going to make it, because there's nothing else that you do besides like think, eat, breathe, whatever this thing is that you're creating.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's like I can barely even sleep when I'm creating something. Often I'll be woken in the middle of the night with an idea, and I keep my journal next to my bed, and, I'll just write, as things come through, it's like, okay, I'm on it. I'm writing it down. I'm taking notes. I'll have ideas about marketing ideas or a pivot or all kinds of things that come through when I'm, half awake and half asleep. It's like your brain kind of never stops when you're super in your pursuit of your passion.
Yeah. I love that. So you became an entrepreneur. You're doing amazing work. You just recently wrote a book, which we're going to come to. But I am a firm believer that you can have it all, that you can be healthy, wealthy, sexy, wiser, make an impact in the world, all the things. I'm a firm believer of that. And unfortunately, we work with a lot of clients, and I'm sure you've met a lot of individuals as well, that just don't think that's true. They think that if they're going to build a booming career or be an entrepreneur or a business, that they have to sacrifice time with their children, or that it's an embarrassment to take their babies with them, right? Like there's very much a disconnect, I would say, with a lot of people in regards to that. And so I would love for you to shed a little bit of light on how you did it all, because I would say from the outside looking in, it seems like you've done a lot of things that are right, that are very admirable. You have, is it 7 children? Did I get that right? Or 6 children.
6,
okay.
Yeah.
So for everyone that's listening, okay, Aimee has 6 children, multiple businesses, just launched a book, married, you're healthy, doing all the things. How did you make that happen? And what were the things that you had to say no to in order to make that happen?
Yeah. And I think that that's one of the things I've gotten better as I've gotten older. Netta, when I was younger, my motto was say yes to everything, every opportunity that came my way. And it really led me to burn myself out a few times, because when you take on too many things, it's, you get so excited. I was like a puppy. I was so excited to just do all the things, and I wanted to do everything. But as I've become a mother, I've had to learn to say no in motherhood, but it's also taught me how to say no in business and no in my personal life, and it's one of those most beautiful gifts that I've learned from motherhood, is how to really say no to the things that I don't really need to be doing right now. What isn't going to move the needle for me? What do I really not need to do today? Because there are lots of things that would move the needle, or maybe there's just something I want to do today, something that's for my personal health, something that's for me, or something that's important for my child. And that's going to go to the top of my priority list. So for me, it's about prioritizing, am I in alignment with my purpose right now? Does this task align with my purpose?
Yes.
Does this task align with me being a mother? Am I showing up for my family? And I think that I don't know. I just do a lot less now. I really do. I feel like it seems like I do a lot, but it's because I'm choosing to do the things that move the needle. I'm not sitting at my desk shuffling papers. I'm not doing my social media work. I hire that out. I'm not doing all of the accounting work. I hire that out. I've gotten way better at being a delegator, and being a delegator will save your life. I mean, honestly, if you want to burn yourself out, try to do everything. But,
I love that, because we have so many clients, whether they're entrepreneurs or working in corporate, that feel like delegating is a dead end zone. They're like, no one can do it like I can do it, or they haven't taught their team, so they haven't delegated certain tasks. And you're absolutely right. It leads to nowhere other than burnout and feeling like you can't take a vacation, you can't enjoy your life. Then after a while, you start to resent the work that you're doing when you used to be really passionate.
I'm a very intuitive person, so I really do use my intuition to guide me during the day. I really do, but I love to make lists, and I really do. And I do try to prioritize my list based on my intuition of what's going to move the needle for me today. And also, how can I honor myself today? Because I really do have to make time to honor myself too, because I have all of these people that need me at home. And so I need to take care of me as well as I take care of everyone else. And that's one of the things I've learned with maturity, I think, is like this morning I went to yoga. I called into the office. I worked with my social media girl on the phone while I was sitting at the parking lot waiting for my class to start. And I think that that's not something I would have done in my 30s.
What does that me time look like for you? Like when you have your personal time, do you have a routine, or is it just kind of whatever feels right?
Tuesday mornings, I have a yoga class I go to every week. There's one teacher, there's one class that I absolutely love. That is me time. That is non-negotiable me time. And then, I love to take a bath, and I'll do that in the evening when I get home. When I get a chance after I get the kids down, I'm going to take an hour and I'm going to go lay in the bathtub, and I'm probably going to watch Netflix.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'll read a book, but I'm probably going to watch Netflix for like an hour, and it's going to be some cheesy something that my husband wouldn't want to watch with me. That's sort of our agreement with streaming, is you only watch stuff that you wouldn't watch together,
Funny. I like the reality stuff, like the Dubai bling and the Selling Sunset, all those things.
Those are fun too. I've dipped in on especially the Dubai bling. I like kind of those girls are kind of they kind of got me, I gotta say. Yeah. I really do like them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your book. You pivoted a little bit, and I know that an initiative for you, and correct me if I'm wrong, is really uplifting and empowering women, especially in certain industries. So tell us about your book and why you decided to take that route.
Yeah. So this book kind of came to me. In 2020, I became the CEO of Tomahawk Information Solutions. My husband and I own 2 IT companies, but in 2020, my husband got very burnt out. He got very sick, and I ended up as the CEO of Tomahawk and the CFO of Mohawk. I was 6 months pregnant with my 6th child, and I had a 1-year-old. And I had all of these other children to take care of as well. And I started feeling the burden of everything. And I had a therapist I was going to, and at that time, I was kind of carrying all of the things in our household. And I think as I was running the company and the household at the same time, I realized how similar running a household is to running a corporation, that you're managing people, capital, and systems, which is the same 3 things that you're managing in a business. And I decided, my mom says, Aimee, you run your house like a general. Everyone knows exactly where they're supposed to be and what's expected of them. And I feel like as the manager of my house, as the CEO of the house, one of the most important things I can do is communicate well with my children and my household employees so that everybody knows what's expected of them. That way they can give me their best, because I know they want to. But a lot of times I feel like children don't know what their parents want from them. They haven't been adequately communicated with when it comes to not just hounding, not just nagging, but like having a real honest sit down communication where there's no energy on it. Just like, hey man, I really need your help with this. I'm real busy with other things, and this would be a big deal to me. This would make me very proud of you if you could do this for me. Kind of
what
having.
age do you start that? And now I'm asking a selfish question, because I did the opposite, right? Building the business, and then I come, married and kids now. And I could see myself bringing like business stuff into the house. What age do you start that? I'm just curious, like
My
4, 5?
4-year-old, yeah, 4, she is very ready. She's adorable. Mommy, what chores do you have for me today? She's very helpful. Can I wash the dishes? Can I clean the windows? Can I wipe the tables down? She's very ready. I don't know if my boys were quite as ready at 4, but my daughter sure is. My boys, during COVID, pretty much everybody had a job in the house. We were all at home. And in order to keep us all busy, we got into the chores of the house, and everybody had something that they actually liked to do. So I like to keep everybody in their realm of genius. So Julian loves the steam mop. I don't know why. The kid was obsessed with it since he was little, and he was too little to use it. And it was like, guess what, buddy? You're going to get to use the steam mop. That's going to be your job. And he was like so excited. And so and the other kids, it was like, this is your squirt bottle. Like, this is your window cleaner. Here you go. This one's yours. This is your rag. You get to clean whatever windows you can reach, And I think a lot of times it's approaching it with like, you get to instead of you have to.
And excitement. Like it's so exciting to have a clean house. It is.
And it's so exciting that you get to play with these cool things that usually it's like, you don't usually get to touch these kinds of things. Like mommy usually doesn't let you hold these cleaners or play with this vacuum, So I think it's kind of approaching everything, because in the same thing in business, if it's an adventure, if you make it fun, there's just a whole different, there's another energy around it. It's you turn some music on, turn on some high energy music and let them help you. Last night, my sweet 13-year-old looked at me and said, "Hey mom, let me help you clean the kitchen." And I was like, yeah, you bet. He's like, "Can I wash the dishes?" I'm like, that would be fantastic. So while he washed the dishes, I picked up the toys in the living room and wiped down the kitchen table. And, it's nice. There can be a really honest communication. I think that that's one of the things that a lot of times we're missing in our relationships with our children, is just the ability to communicate with them kind of like they are adults, kind of like they're on an equal playing field with us, because we're not raising children. We're raising adults. And so that's one of the things when I talk to my children, I really do try. I feel like all of my kids can hold it toe to toe with any grown up. And I feel like, because I've always talked to them like a grown up, my mom always did the same thing to me. I do think that it helps them to be a little more understanding. And there seems to be, when you have that mutual level of respect for one another, they may not be all the way grown up yet, but that's where they're heading. So it's kind of like approaching it with that mindset.
Yeah, I love that. So you started writing the book because you were in this beautiful situation. And so then what inspired the writing and the publishing and, the podcast?
Yeah. So I just started writing in my car. Mostly I started writing the book in 2022. It basically started coming through and I couldn't stop it. I would just talk it right into the notes in my phone. And I thought, okay, I can't, it was interesting. My writing partner said it's something, I think they call it brain on fire, when you basically have something that's burning so much inside you that needs to come out so badly. It's this book, this thing that needs to come out and be published. And it was just nonstop. So I was looking everywhere for a publisher, trying to figure out what, this is new to me. It's outside my wheelhouse. And I was on Midori Verity's roundtable. Actually, the female millionaire is her brand, one of her brands. And I was on with a woman who said, "I will introduce you to the perfect person." I was on with Jenna Leva. She's a PR woman and she's fabulous. And she introduced me to Shayna Hartman of Synergy Publishing Group. And they are exactly what I was looking for. It's a hybrid publisher, and her and her partner are both former English professors. Okay. And they just came in with this editor's eye that, I have a degree in film writing, screenwriting, but I don't, writing an actual book was completely totally different format, different everything. So it was so nice to bring, basically let me just get this out. And what we ended up doing was printing everything I had written, all of my chapters. And I flew out to North Carolina and spent the weekend with these ladies in a house on a lake, beautiful. And we weeded through everything. What absolutely must be in the book? What's in this book? What isn't in this book? And then we figured out all of the exercises that were going to go with the chapters. And we decided that those exercises were going to go in the chapters. So it was like, having this hands-on, very female experience of creating this book with these women. It wasn't like working with a New York publisher. there at all. It was very much what the ManageHer is all about, which is women doing business in a woman's way.
Yeah.
Very much more about this intuitive, soft, nurturing style that women have in business. And that was it. The book was chosen. We worked through everything. We designed the cover. We did the interior design. They put together all the files for me, and we uploaded them to Amazon and to Ingram Spark, it's available everywhere. You can get the book. The book is available everywhere. The ManageHer. It's on Amazon. It's anywhere you want it. You can get it. They can order it at any bookstore. It's pretty cool.
Good for you. Congratulations. It's a big
Thank
milestone.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You've mentioned a few times about like feminism and, being in your womanhood. A lot of women struggle with that, especially like from a career perspective, because they feel like they have to bring a certain energy. How were you, or what is your advice to being able to be a go-getter, be assertive, right, in your career or your business or what you're doing, and at the same time not losing like the woman or the femininity that you have that's so important, I think, as well?
Yeah, I think that you have to approach everything with just authenticity. I think that's the real key in all things. I think that my passion and my drive, I do love hunting. So, when we're out hunting clients, there's a passion, there's a purpose to that. It's so much fun. I love meeting new people. I love having conversations. I love getting on calls with C-level executives. Those are the things that kind of thrill me to no end. So I think that but I come at it with I went in when we landed PepsiCo, I left my not even 1-year-old at home, and I was like 7 or 8 months pregnant with Paul. And I went to the boardroom at PepsiCo with my belly, and you just got to own you. You are who you are. Just own you. I feel like the Spanish queen, the one who goes into battle with, she's got her metal shield that covers her belly. And, I just think there's something so beautiful about the strong woman persona. I don't think women are weak. I think women are incredibly strong. And I think that we are so resilient. And I think we're so capable of doing many things at once. And that's just sort of, I tap into that authentic female, strong woman self when I approach those things.
I love that. And thank you for sharing that. This has been an awesome conversation. I do want to have you back because I know we could get into more nitty gritty about the book and even just some challenges, I think, within the workplace that sometimes women might feel. But I would love to jump into the power section of the interview. And I want to ask you to start with, if you were to leave the world with one final message, we call it our golden nugget, what would that be?
Follow your heart, lead with purpose, be authentic.
Yeah. And here at Rise Up For You, as you know, Aimee, everything that we teach is around soft skills, really the street smarts. It makes up 85% of your success. Unfortunately, we're never really taught them. So can you think of a time where you wish you just had a little bit more soft skills in that moment and the outcome would have maybe been better for you, or the opposite?
Honestly, when I met my business partner for Bliss Nutritional Sciences, I felt very, very lucky that my parents had raised me as a little baby, like on the floor of the boardroom, in the bank. And because here I am meeting this very, very successful older man who's quite wealthy. He went on to become a billionaire. And, it's like I went up to this man who's like 6'4" and just look him in the eye and shake his hand as a very equal person. And I feel like that was the moment that made that company. He got to really see, it was like, so nice to meet you, Tom. I'd love to be in business with you. And it was like, to have the soft skills in that moment of how basically my parents raised me. They taught me to shake a hand and look in the eye at 2 years old. And I do it with my kids too. And I'm so proud to teach that because it's one thing you could do that you can teach your kids. How to say someone's name back to them, how to shake the hand, how to extend your right hand to right hand, and look someone in the eye and shake their hand with a nice firm handshake. It's a wonderful thing you can teach your children. One little thing.
I love that. And I have one more question for you, but before I ask, tell us how we can learn more about you, your website, social media, your book.
Yeah, check me out at Aimee Rickabus on Instagram. at the ManageHer on Instagram, themanager.com, and my company is Tomahawk Information Solutions. We're tom-is.com if you're looking for any sort of technical stuff. We work with Fortune 500 companies, providing mostly services, software, and hardware, especially in the digital transformation space.
Fantastic. And we'll put all that in the show notes for the audience. Final question. As you know, we are Rise Up For You. What comes to mind when you hear that phrase?
For me, it was the moment when I rise up for myself. I think of me actually writing this book, Nada. I think of me reaching out, meeting you at the Unconventional Women's Convention, seeing that you're a published author, and I wouldn't stop until I got a word with you. I was like following you around. I was like, okay, I have to. When I rose up for me, it was sort of me stepping out and speaking the words, I'm going to write a book for the very first time. And so when you rise up for yourself, it's the very first time you tell someone something that you are going to do.
Yeah. You put it out there. You put it out there. And I think I remember saying, like, good for you, because sometimes people will say it and put it out there, but they never get to the finish line. And so you did it. So you should be, super proud. Congratulations. Everybody, please go out there and get the book. Aimee, it's been an honor to have you on our show today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nada. You're awesome. You keep up the good work. You're just amazing. And we really appreciate everything you do too. Keep making people better.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining the Rise Up For You podcast. As you know, every single week we are bringing you amazing episodes with entrepreneurs, thought leaders, executives from around the world that are here to help you and your team be your absolute best. I will see you next time. Aimee, thank you again.
Thank you.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Before you leave, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channel and check us out on social media. We are everywhere, from LinkedIn to Instagram to Facebook, at our simple handle at Rise Up For You. On every single platform, it's exactly the same. And we're providing new content on every single platform, so there's something different everywhere. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel, subscribe to our podcast, and connect with us on social media. I'll see you next time.